All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Kaplan from SEB Housing, and just getting things set up here. See some people are still joining. So this is the lottery for the 19 affordable rental units at Radio Factory Lofts in Melrose. And we're going to get the lottery underway in just a little while. We also have a conference call that is running right now. So if you need to switch to your phone for any reason, that is through the number that I am going to put into the chat right now. And if you have any questions during this meeting, you can go ahead and either type them into the chat in the Zoom meeting, or you can unmute yourself momentarily to ask that question. I just ask that you go ahead and mute yourself again once you have spoken, just to minimize any noise during the lottery. So first, I just want to give you some background information and let you know how many applicants have applied. There's no need to write any of this information down. You are going to get a notice, an email after the lottery tonight with all of this information. At the latest tomorrow morning, you will get all of this. So there's 19 total affordable units at Radio Factory Lofts, and we had 140 completed applications. So there are going to be 140 households in this lottery. There are 2 studio apartments with a total of 35 completed applications for those. There are 10 one-bedroom affordable apartments with a total of 76 completed applications, and there are 7 two-bedroom apartments with a total of 70 completed applications. So all households should already have their lottery application number. It was sent to you when you were approved for the lottery, and it's the number that's A dot and then a series of numbers. So in this case, your number is between A dot 001 and A dot 140, because there's 140 people in the lottery. So let me know if you don't have that or you forgot it. That is the number that you're going to need to be able to. Sorry, I think we have a question here. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm just listening for the lottery.
Oh, okay, could you just mute yourself if you don't? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so if you don't have that number, just let me know either in the chat or by unmuting yourself so I can get that to you. That is the number that you're going to be looking for after I do the randomization. So back when you completed your application, you will have indicated if you were a household type 1 or 2. And so you want to keep in mind that the 2-bedroom waiting list, type 2 households are going to have priority over type 1 households. So this is because the affordable housing program is designed so that households don't have priority for units with more bedrooms than their family actually requires. So just keep that in mind. Even if you're drawn first in this lottery and you're a type 1 household who applied for a 2-bedroom unit, you would be below all of the type 2 households. There's also a local preference for several of these affordable units, and you were informed on your lottery eligibility notice if you qualified for that preference. There's also 4 affordable units that are equipped with accessible features for persons with disabilities, and households who require those features will have priority over households of the same type who don't require the accessibility features in those units. So all of this is really to say that even after the lottery takes place tonight, you're not going to know exactly where you stand, even if your number is drawn first. We're going to need to sort the results from tonight and take the household types and priorities into consideration so we can compile those waiting lists and get them out to you by tomorrow morning. And so once you receive the next email from us, will either be tonight or tomorrow morning, it will have the waiting list attached to it. And you might see your lottery number more than once, and that would be because you applied for more than 1 unit. So if you were interested in both a studio and a 1-bedroom, you'll see your waiting list placement on those 2 lists. And so some of you might have applied to SEB housing lotteries in the past, so I just want to quickly point out that instead of our usual practice of drawing note cards out of a lottery box, with the application numbers written on them. I will instead be conducting this lottery digitally using random.org. So this is a website that's going to allow us to generate a random order as a way of conducting the lottery, which is hopefully easier for you to follow. And it'll still allow for the transparency that we're looking for. The city of Boston actually uses random.org when they conduct their lotteries. And given the number of applicants for Radio Factory Lofts, we've chosen to use it tonight. So the randomization of the lottery numbers is going to be instantaneous. You're going to see the results on the drawing right away because I'll be screen sharing it with you. And so you'll be able to view the process. All right, so we're required to have 2 drawings for the lottery, for any lottery with local preference. So first we have to do a lottery for the households that have local preference. There were 33 of those households in this lottery, and we're going to do a second general pool drawing with all 140 households, and that will include those local preference households as well. So for this particular lottery tonight, we actually are going to need to do a preliminary local preference minority drawing, which is what we're going to start out with. And the reason for this drawing, you may have seen it in the materials already, but it's because according to the Affordable Housing Program rules, the number of minority households in the local preference pool needs to be at least as high as the minority percentage in the surrounding area. So in this case, the Boston area, the minority percentage is 33.4%. There were 33 households who qualified for local preference, but only 10 of those households said they belonged to a minority group. So 10 of 33 was lower than that 33.4% that we needed. So to start out, the first thing we'll be doing is doing that, sort of mini drawing of the minority drawing, and there will be 52 households in that drawing. Only the top 2 are going to be taken and added to the local preference drawing. And so the way that I'll do that is the lottery numbers for the 52 minority households who were not already part of the local preference pool are going to be randomized, and those 2 top lottery applications will be added to the 10 minority local preference households. And that's going to make for 12 of the total 35 local preference households, and that will be the 34.2%, which is greater than the Boston area 33.4% minority percentage. So after the minority drawing, we're going to have the required minority representation to go ahead and do the local drawing. I know all of this doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but it's the procedure we have to follow in order to sort these results in the way that the program calls for. So once we've finished the local priority drawing, the local preference households are going to also be in the general pool drawing, and we're going to then draw or sort the 140 households. All right, so following the lottery, every household is going to be sent that email that I mentioned. It's going to have the next steps in the process, a summary of a lot of the information shared tonight, and it's going to have the waiting list actually attached to it. There are 2 applicants who didn't provide an email address. That's perfectly fine. We're going to send out the notice and all its attachments by regular mail. Just want to put that out there. And you're going to receive that notice. You're going to see the waiting list, and you will see that the top households on each waiting list are highlighted in green. So this is just letting you know that those households that are highlighted in green are going to be invited to move forward in the process by completing the lease application with the leasing office following the lottery. The leasing office's contact information will be given to you in this email, and your contact information will be shared with the leasing office as well. So you can go ahead and coordinate touring the unit, completing a lease application, and hopefully reserving one of the affordable apartments. The households with the highest positions on the waiting list are going to have the first chance to select or reserve one of the affordable units. If you're not one of the top households on the waiting list, you won't be moving forward at this time. However, if for any reason, some of the top households on any of the waiting lists ultimately decide they don't want to rent one of these units, households who are further down the line are going to be contacted to move forward. So your takeaway from all of that should be, if we've sorted, after we've sorted the results from tonight and sent the waiting list to you, if you're not one of the highlighted households, we're not going to be contacting you unless one or more of the top households drops off the waiting list. And that does happen. It's very rare that we would ever have, 19 units, the first 19 people rent them and we're done. So that doesn't normally happen. So if you're not highlighted after tonight, that doesn't mean that you are not going to be moving forward. It's important to keep in mind too that SEB housing has only completed your initial screening. You haven't yet been found eligible to lease at Radio Factory. So you don't want to give notice to your current landlord or property owner immediately following the lottery, since you don't yet know if you qualify to rent a unit at Radio Factory. And once a household has been found lease eligible by the leasing office and reserved a unit, the leasing office at Radio Factory is going to contact us at SEB, and we will then require you to submit all of the income, asset, and tax documentation that you have not yet provided for your final eligibility review. And so every household who was found eligible for the lottery, at that time, you should have received a documentation requirements guide, and that details all of the information that you'd be asked for in terms of like your pay stubs and tax returns and things like that. That's the information that I'm referring to. And you would have about 10 days to supply that once it's requested from you. I do see a direct message here. I have one person that's asking for their lottery number, so I will get back to you in just 1 second. Just one more piece of information before the drawing. These units are available for tours and occupancy right now. So this likely will not apply to you, but if for any reason you're scheduled to move into one of the units after February 24th, which is 6 months from today, you might need to undergo a second review after having reserved a unit. And in that case, we would just send you a reminder and you would have to update your income and tax and asset documentation with us. Also, just a reminder, anybody who moves into the affordable units at Radio Factory would need to recertify each year. So as long as you're living in a affordable unit, you will need to recertify with the leasing office, but that's a while off. But we just like to remind people of that so they have, kind of maintain a file of your income and tax documentation and all of that, since you would need to show it to them. All right, so before we do the drawings, I'm just going to look up a couple of these. Yes, the lottery is another question here to clarify. Is the lottery number the application number? Yes, it's A dot and then a series of numbers. So if you were the first person to submit an application and it was approved, you are A.001. You should have received that number. I'm going to look up one of them now because someone has asked me for it. Any other questions, you can go ahead and type them in or unmute while I am looking. Just give me one moment. We want to make sure that everyone knows what number they're looking for.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why would it take until February 24th?
It shouldn't. There's no reason it ever should. We just like to put that out there just to make sure that anyone who has already provided their information knows that if it's delayed for any reason, you may need to submit things to us. All right, like I said, these are already units that are available, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let me just 1 second here. Someone had asked you about the potential move-in date. So the units are ready now, which would mean if you were moving forward in the process and you were touring the apartments at Radio Factory, you would be working out your move-in date after you've been approved by SEB and everything. And it could be any day. You could work it out as you see fit if you need to give notice to a current property owner or if you need time to to get things in order. So that would be up to you guys, but it could be as early as, you know, a month after the lottery. Just one moment. One second here. Anyone else who doesn't have their number? There is one question here about parking. So I don't have the information right now in front of me about parking, but I'm going to bring it up. So one parking space is included in the rent. So if you're renting an affordable unit, you do not need to pay for parking. One parking space is included. If you have a second car, that's something you would need to work out with the leasing office, but I don't know how they would handle that. I don't know if their parking is limited. I believe it is a little bit limited, but don't worry about that because you do have parking for one car. I also have a question here, utilities included, and they are not. So tenants are responsible for electric heat, hot water, cooking, electricity, and water and sewer charges. I just have a couple direct messages here, so I'm sorry for the hesitation.
Hey, Catherine,
Yep. Oh,
this
Dave,
is
hi.
Dave. Can I suggest that we move forward with the drawing, and then if
Sure.
households have questions, they can save those for after the drawing, because we can't actually see what those questions are.
Yeah.
And I think there are probably households here who would just like to see the drawing, and then other households who have specific questions. I can stick around with you after and we can help address those together.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to close everything out here so I can share my screen with you. And let me just get everything up. So I mentioned that this drawing is going to be done using random.org. And so I'm going to share my screen with you. The first thing we're doing is that minority drawing, the preliminary minority drawing. And I'm going to show you right now by screen sharing. So you should be able to see my screen if you're in the Zoom call right now. The sheet that I have here is listing, there's 52 numbers here. Those represent the application numbers of the households who are minority households who are not already in the local preference drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all of these. I'm going to random.org, which is this website here. I'm going to generate a random list by pasting, not that, one moment. Pasting all of those lottery numbers here, and I'm going to press randomize. They're now, the 52 numbers here are now in the order that they were drawn. I'm copying and pasting just for a record into a Word document on the side here. So just give me a moment. And then I am going to put them into the list you saw here. Well, actually, I'm not even going to put them all in there because we're only taking the top 2 households. So the 2 households that are being taken to add to the local preference list are these 2 households here. So A.038 and A.139 are going to be added to this local drawing here. So I'm going to go ahead and add them. I have 2 spots down the bottom here that I'm going to be adding them in. And I am going to now run the local preference drawing with the 35 households that are now in the local drawing. Here's the local drawing. Again, I'm going to copy this and put it in a Word document to make sure I have record of it. And then I'm just going to copy the numbers here. And this is our local drawing. So anyone who has local preference, you're going to see your number here. I'm just going to sort it in a way that looks a little neater for us. And so this is our local preference list. So some of you might see your number here. There's 35 numbers. All of these local preference households are also in the general drawing. In the general drawing, you're going to notice that every number from A.001 through A.140 are listed here. These are the numbers that I'm going to copy into the online randomization. And that's going to be our 3rd and final drawing. So I know a lot of this just kind of seems redundant, but we are going to have everything sorted for you by tomorrow morning. So it'll make a lot more sense at that point. So I've got 140 here, just making sure I'm copying them all. And this is the general drawing. So this is everyone that was approved for the lottery is in this drawing here. And so here are the numbers. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have these in a Word document as well. And I'll scroll down a little bit. Make sure I've got all of these, and I'll put them into the Excel sheet that we have there, so it's a little easier for you to read. So everyone is on here. And so, like I said, the results from this drawing, the drawings that we just did, still need to be sorted. We need to take into account the local preference priority, the household size, the fact that some people are requesting the disabled accessible unit. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is not, a done deal, but we do want to show it to you, obviously, for transparency purposes. So I'm going to wait around. If anybody wants me to look up their number on this sheet or on the local sheet, I can do that. Any questions on what was just done in terms of the lottery? I know it's different if anyone has seen a lottery with SEB before. The smaller ones we're normally doing just with paper. So open to any questions right now.
I have a question. So what are we looking at here and what happens next?
Yep. So we just ran the drawing. So the lottery for Radio Factory Lofts, we just ran the 3 drawings that we needed to do to be able to sort the results from the lottery. So it's the same thing we would normally do in paper. It's just I did it digitally. So, you know, order drawn, the person who has, the family who has A.045 was drawn first in the general lottery. If you had a local preference, the households that are listed here, this is the order of their priority. We're going to be taking all of this and, you know, sorting the results to compile the wait list for the units at Radio Factory. So if you are, you know, A.036, you don't really know where you stand right now, but you will tonight or tomorrow morning once we have compiled the waiting list.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Did you already pull the low income?
So this isn't by income or anything. It's just the affordable units at Radio Factory. Everyone who applied for the lottery is here. So you all have a lottery application number, and you're represented in these lottery application numbers here.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Yeah, I didn't see my number in there at all. A109. Does that mean it wasn't picked at all, or am I missing it
So
somewhere?
everyone's here. You said 109?
Yes, A.109.
I can look it up for you.
Thank you.
Not letting me do A here. What happens when you have a typo? So you're 75th on the general drawing, and if you didn't have local preference, that's the only list you'd be on.
And we'll
So again,
find
Okay.
out.
This wasn't sorted or anything yet, but just on, you know, based on nothing but the randomization, you're 75th on here.
And we'll find out about the
75th.
wait list for each unit tomorrow morning.
Yep, by tomorrow morning, you'll have a email from us, or if you're one of the people who didn't provide an email, you'll have a mailing going out that is showing you the waiting list. So all the sorted waiting list. After we've taken all the priorities into account, you're going to see if it's going to be the same format in terms of your number. So you're still going to be looking for your lottery number. A.109, for example, is going to be on you know, whatever waiting list that household applied for. So if you were interested in the 2-bedroom, then you're going to be on the 2-bedroom list. You're going to have a chat here.
Can you show us the minority drawing again?
Sure. So the minority drawing, these are the 52 households who were not already in the local preference you know, group that indicated that they were minorities. So we needed to have more minority representation in the local drawing. So the top 2 people who were drawn in the randomization are now added to the local drawing, and you can see them down here.
So it's not, so that's it for minorities.
No, so everyone's drawn in the general drawing. So the preliminary minority drawing was just to ensure that the local preference represented at least the 33.4% of the minority percentage in the Boston area. So
33% was 2.
No, there's already 10. So there's 12.
So
now.
who are the 10 minorities that?
I'm not going to disclose the 10 that are in here, but in the local preference, there are 10 people who are disclosed on their application that they're a minority. So
do they have a higher chance? Or is it based on the order drawn?
This does have local preference. So this lottery has local preference, and the local preference households for several of the units, the 1-bedroom and the 2-bedroom units.
So that's a ranking as well. So everyone's there where it says minority drawing, those are all preference as well.
No, the local drawing, the local preference. These are the local preference households.
Okay.
So yeah, the minority drawing is just to make sure that we're able to take 2 more applications of people who disclosed that they were a minority group, so we can have proper representation in the local drawing of minorities.
Okay.
Yeah. So local preference is going to be one of the priorities that we're sorting for tonight when we're looking through the results. And the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units at Radio Factory do have local priority, which means that local preference households are going to be ahead of similarly sized non-local preference households.
Okay, and then I have another question. How long do people, so like tomorrow the waiting list goes out. How long does everyone have to submit their paperwork before you move on to the next person?
So first, you're going to be getting lease screened by the leasing office. So you would be contacting them within a week. And then if you are found eligible for their lease, for their lease screening, which usually includes, credit check, landlord references, that sort of thing. Once they let us know that your household is approved for their lease criteria, then you need to submit all of the documentation to SEB Housing within about 10 days, and we'll send you an invitation for that. So still a couple weeks out.
I was wondering if you could check my lottery number.
Sure.
It was A006, and it was local preference as well.
Sure.
Thank you.
So in the general drawing, you're coming up as 48. In the local drawing, you are 6.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
So can you check mine? Mine is 007.
50th in the general drawing.
So nothing in the local drawing.
Right. So that means that you weren't in the local preference drawing.
A question.
Sure.
It's a general question. Who is the governing body of affordable lotteries? Is it Boston?
Not for Somerville. So the city has rules and regulations around inclusionary housing, and then the state, in terms of DHCD, has regulations and that we need to abide by as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind checking my number?
Yep, I know there's a lot of questions about it here in the chat too. Sorry, go ahead.
047.
Yep, so you're 108 in the general drawing, and it looks like that was it, right? Yep, no local, right? Oh no, you are in the local as well. You're 34th in the local drawing.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question for A.73, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one now. And that person, A.073, was 9th in the general drawing, and that was it.
Quick question, please.
Mm-hmm.
What, I know I'm not local in Melrose, but what if you work in Melrose? Does that help you at all?
Yep, so on your, sorry for misspeaking earlier and mentioning Somerville, by the way. I meant to say Melrose. So the lottery application that you filled out would have asked if you worked in Melrose full-time, or if you lived in Melrose or had a child attending school in Melrose.
Yeah, because I think I left that blank, but I do work in Melrose.
Yeah, you would have had to have indicated that on the lottery application in order to get into the local preference drawing, unfortunately.
Oh, so that's too late, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry about that. No problem. I'm seeing 057 here, so I'm looking that up as well. And in the general drawing, you were 136. 056 I'm seeing, sorry for all these. And 056 is 112. And then this person on the conference call here, sorry, could you say that again? What number did you want me to look for?
039.
39? 039 is,
Yeah.
yep, that's 64th in the general drawing. Again, these aren't, it's not going to tell you much, but I'm happy to look it up for you. When we sort the results later, you're going to know a lot more about what your placement means because the waiting list will have been populated. So A.78, 078 is 115 in the general drawing. That was someone who had messaged me as well. A.001, 101. You're the 101st person on the general. I see A.16 as well. You were 5th in the general drawing. How is handicap preference handled? Someone is asking that in the chat as well. So households who do require who disclosed on their lottery application that they require the features of the accessible unit will have priority. So for 2-bedroom disabled accessible units, for example, type 2 households who require the features of the unit will be first. Type 1 households who need the features of the unit will be after, type 2 households and so forth. I think I've got most people who are asking here. I see A57, so I'm going to put that up here again as well. 136, maybe I did already do that one. Anyone else have questions before? Oh, can you please show the local again? Sure. So the local drawing is right here. I don't think I can fit it all on the one page. Almost. This is the order of the local. All right. So we've got A.25. A.025 was 49th in the general. Someone was asking as well, how did the minority drawing work? How many people were chosen for it? So there was only 2 people that came out of that minority drawing. That was just a requirement to make sure that we have enough minority representation in the local drawing, which we now do. So that was the only reason for that. Everyone who was not local preference, who indicated that they're part of minority group, was entered into that lottery just to move 2 people from the non-local preference to the local preference drawing, just to make sure we have that representation that's required. How long is the wait list active? So that's a good question. The leasing office will have the waiting list for, our understanding at least is that annually they'll update their waiting list to, in doing that, they'll reach out to anyone who's on the waiting list to ask if they're still interested in remaining on there. So as units become available, people move out from year in and year out, you may get contacted. If you do not move forward right now, you may get contacted in the future by the leasing office at Radio Factory to ask if you are interested in renting an affordable unit there any longer. A couple more numbers in here, so I'm going to throw them in. So general drawing, A.122 was 117th. In the local drawing, you were 8th. A.005. You were 119th in the general drawing.
You know what number I was, please?
Yep, just one moment. So there's one other question here about local preference. So I had stated that it's for 1 and 2 bedrooms. Does it include studios? And no, I don't believe so. There is no local preference for the studio unit. I'm gonna triple check that right now just to make sure. Yep, and that was an open pool. So the 2 studio apartments are do not have local preference, meaning that everyone in the lottery will have the same priority for that if you apply for those. And then Terry, what was your number?
A024.
58
Oh,
in the general drawing.
thank you.
Sure. All right, so again, we're gonna sort these lottery results, and you'll know a lot more either tonight or tomorrow morning about where your application stands on the waiting list and what you can expect going forward. If you're highlighted in green, you're going to be asked to move forward right away and contact the leasing office for to complete a lease eligibility screening. And if you're not highlighted in green, you are going to not be contacted right away. But if the top households on the waiting list end up not renting a unit, we are going to proceed down the waiting list and go from there. One general question here has come in. And the answer is yes. So the first question here is, if there isn't much interest in the affordable units and not enough applicants for the number of units available, does the property just maintain a waiting list until they can find someone? So the answer is yes. There was obviously a lot of interest in this lottery. So we are anticipating that the units will lease with this waiting list. There's a lot of people on most of the waiting list. Or can they rent those units to those who have higher incomes? So there are affordable units that need to be rented at this property. So they're not going to be rented out to market rate households. They will remain, the 19 units at this property will always remain affordable. Okay, yeah, you're asking for reference there. Sometimes, in a lot of these lotteries, sometimes the units are not fixed, meaning if unit or apartment number 101 was affordable, and then you notice it's not down the line, that might be because they have decided to rent another comparable unit as affordable. Are these specific units? They are right now, yes. I don't have the unit numbers in front of me, but when you go to tour the property, you will be able to see which are affordable, or the leasing office will let you know. Any other questions before we wrap up?
How do I find out what number I am on the list?
Sure. So you should have received a lottery eligibility email from us a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and it would have had a lottery application number that was a series of numbers. If you're comfortable giving me your name, I can look you up right now, or you can email us afterwards. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Susan Bernardo.
All right, hold on one second here. I'm going to stop sharing for now just to look up something, but if anybody has any other questions, we'll stick around for a couple more minutes. Susan, I'm just going to look up your in our database here.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
I apologize.
No, no problem.
If I don't have to take with me, I have no clue what I'm doing with this info.
I understand. Susan, it looks like you said Bernardo, right? With a B?
Yes.
Yeah. So it looks like you were sent an eligible notice on the 4th. So you weren't in the lottery. I don't
I
have,
wasn't in a lot of, okay.
so it looks like you were sent an ineligible notice on the 4th. I don't have it in front of me, but I can email you with more details about that. We have your email address. Yeah. Right after this, I'll send you an email just so you have that clarification. Anyone else have a question? Sure.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
So you said 70 people applied for 2 bedrooms and then 60 for 1 bedroom? And then 10 for studio?
No, that doesn't sound right. Let me see. So we have 35 applications for studio, 76 completed applications for the 1 bedroom, and 70 for the 2 bedrooms.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Sure.
And
All
I
right, so-
do have
oh.
one question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So I just joined, so I was a little bit late. I will say 47 minutes late. I just wanted to confirm if I was in the lottery by any chance.
Sure. Do you have a lottery number?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll check just in case you may have misplaced it. So is your first name coming up correctly on Zoom here?
Yes, it is.
I'll just look you up by that real quick.
Um,
Does your last name start with H?
Yes.
Okay, so you were in the lottery. Your number was A.087. And I can just look up quickly since I know a lot of people were wondering where they were. I
Okay.
can look that up for you real quick. I know I'm not sharing my screen right now, but yep, so Salma, you were in the general drawing, you were drawn 90th, and then in the local drawing, you were 30th.
Okay.
So you'll know more about what that means when we send out the sorted waiting list tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest. So you'll see exactly where you placed on each waiting list once we have sorted them by priorities. I see a couple people are doing the hand raising feature here. So Brittany, if you have a question, you can go ahead and unmute or just type it into the chat.
Did you say I got something on August 4th?
Yep, August 4th is when the ineligible notice was sent, but after we finish up here, I'll make sure to email you, Barbara.
That doesn't make any sense because I did my application after that.
I'll be sure to, I don't have the details right now, but I will be sure to send that to you. We can square that out. Anyone else? All right, if not, thanks for tuning in and you'll hear from us tonight or tomorrow morning. And if you have any questions after you receive that, go ahead and reply by the email. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.